So now that we're actually getting to full parts, let's officially start the series off with SEBULBA'S pod. As I implied in the last part, SEBULBA'S pod is exactly the same as Anakin's pod. The only reason why it's above Anakin is because orange is a way better color than yellow in my opinion. Also because Jake Lloyd's Anakin's bad.
Now this is pod racing.
Jesus. Speaking of that guy, he like disappeared. After a little research, he was in jail and now he's in a psychiatric facility diagnosed with schizophrenia. Okay, I know the dude got some flack for his performance as Anakin, and I have a feeling that had something to do with his current condition. Anyway, I was doing some research for SEBULBA, and did you know that he was a former slave and was freed after his skills in pod racing? What? Also, he bought Anakin's pod after he won the race, which is, like, that just goes against, like, skill. That's just like buying his pod just because he could win more. So, ZAM'S AIRSPEEDER is the first ship featured in this list that can actually do something. So, that's a plus. But a lot of the ships in the rosters are really just filler ships. Only a few have special abilities, but most just shoot stuff. I remember the level where you fight ZAM and her airspeeder. It's pretty infuriating the first time around. Not like the final fight, but like the parts where you're just chasing her. But, I mean, to be fair, all ship levels are infuriating. I'm sorry, but it's true. Ship levels in general are just not fun at all. Most us, but pod race is an exception though. Because that level's just fun, and it's not really the traditional ship level. Apparently Zam Wessels teams up with Jango Fett a lot in the EU, which I guess makes sense, but Jango Fett's kind of a douchebag though, for killing her after all they supposedly been through. Shout out to Zam for the worst death in Star Wars though, like, Jesus. Okay, so we're only 4 ships into this entire list, and 2 of them are related to Anakin. You gotta love it. No, really, I didn't rank Anakin Pod and Anakin Speeder so low because they were related to Anakin. Like I said, around 75% of the ships don't do anything but shoot. The speeder chase scene in Attack of the Clones is probably one of the better scenes in the movie, mostly because of the fact that it wasn't centered around galactic politics. Probably the best scene in that movie was the Geonosian arena scene. Speaking of that, why hasn't there been a Lego set for that? It's like a perfect opportunity, and everyone's been saying that it should exist, but it doesn't. But whatever. This is the only ship in the entire game that isn't unlocked from the regular story mode. This is one of 2 ships in the entire game that you can't buy in the store or unlock it in a regular story mode level. You actually unlock this guy from the bonus room in one of the levels in there. Basically, the developers were restricted to only 6 different scenes to be made into levels, so this one got pushed to the bonus room. The level itself isn't that bad though, plus you don't have to collect any minikits or red bricks since it's a bonus level, but it is the only place in the entire game that you actually hear a voice. Like actual words. I don't know why, but that makes me hate him more. I don't know how it's possible, but LEGO Star Wars just crossed the line. This is another one of those generic ships that really no one cares about in this game. I don't even think the Imperial shuttle shows up at any point in this game, but oddly enough, for a ship that no one really cares about, it has a lot of different iterations in the LEGO form. Hell, it even got its own UCS set, but then again, something getting a UCS version isn't that big of an honor at this point. I mean, look at the UCS Assault on Hoth. It's bad. Also, the UCS ATST is one of the lesser known UCS sets, but it's terribly scaled. I mean, regular LEGO ATSTs are perfectly scaled for minifigures as it is. For the UCS version, it just looks bad. Also, too many studs on top. Whatever, I barely even talked about the Imperial shuttle, but there isn't really much to talk about. So now another Anakin ship, and it's his yellow Jedi Starfighter. And although I like the design of the Starfighters, and the beginning of the scene in Revenge of the Sith was pretty entertaining, and the level in this game isn't bad for stud grinding, it's just that the Starfighters don't do much. Technically they should be called Jedi Interceptors, but same diff. I really don't know what to say, but honestly, there really is a lack of ships in this game compared to LEGO Star Wars 3 and LEGO The Force Awakens. And that's another reason why I believe LEGO Star Wars Complete Saga hasn't aged well when put up against later LEGO games. And the last, the second Starfighter. The Starfighters show up in one level and they're pretty useless otherwise. The only reason why the red version is above the yellow version is because I like red better as a color. As I said, yellow is a terrible color for design. It looks like someone peed on it. Good one, you really got him there. Also, I ranked this one above the other Starfighter because I like Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan, who's the pilot of the Red Starfighter if you haven't played this game or even watched the movie. And I actually own the Red Jedi Interceptor in physical LEGO form, and I gotta say that the set is god tier. Honestly, a solid set for display purposes. Surprisingly enough, the Imperial ships actually have an ability they can use. It's basically the equivalent of the Imperial panel and the character levels, so by that logic, they should all be at the top since they actually do something, right? Well, I almost did, but that would make for a boring list, so I scrambled them up. The TIE Bomber is the lowest ranking Imperial ship because it honestly looks stupid. I know one of those compartments, those little pods, whatever, is the cockpit and the other is where the bombs go, but it still looks really stupid. There was only one minifigure scale TIE Bomber made into a LEGO set, and I can see why they haven't made any more. But one thing I actually admire is that the developers made it so the TIE Bombers can hold up to 5 torpedoes, as opposed to all other ships being able to hold only 3. That's pretty neat. One of the classic Star Wars ships coming at you, the Y-Wing. Honestly, I really don't see the usefulness in these ships in trench runs, or ship battles, or literally anything involving shippage, new word. Their shape is very impractical. I know they're like that because they have to look like the letter Y. Speaking of that, Ys don't even exist in the Star Wars universe. The main language in Star Wars is Basic. They have a totally illegible alphabet to us. I mean, let's face it, it's practically gibberish anyways. I mean, people who say they can read Basic, they either need to get a life, or they need to just stop lying, because it's just basically a bunch of gibberish that people made up in 20 minutes. Anyway, how would these people even know what a Y is? I don't know who to blame, so I'll just blame George. Frick you, George. Go home. Also, Y-Wings are actually able to hold up to 5 torpedoes as well, as opposed to just 3, like the TIE Bomber. So they're just the rebel version of the TIE Bomber, so don't worry about it. And finishing off the first official part is the Vulture droid. I really don't know what to say about a Vulture droid. I know I have one in physical LEGO form, but it's inaccurate. Vulture droids don't have pilots, they fly themselves. But the 2015 LEGO version I have, it has the battle droid pilot manning the Vulture droid. I mean, I guess it isn't a big deal, but I hate inaccuracies like that. Their main appearance was in Revenge of the Sith, which is getting a weird surge of fans. Has anyone noticed this? A lot of people are saying that Revenge of the Sith is like their favorite Star Wars film. I mean, it's pretty solid compared to the Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, but it really isn't the best Star Wars film. They're just saying that because out of nostalgia, because they were a kid when that movie came out, and they were just like, oh, it's so good,